I go by the name of Joffey Joe, and this is the show, Call It How I See It. And on today's episode, I got one thing I want to tell y'all. The Eagles are the Super Bowl champions of the fucking world. And I'm very happy to do this episode because we're only going to talk about one thing. The Eagles winning the Super Bowl. I got my friends with me, and you don't want to miss out on this action-packed episode. Woo! And we're back. Yes, fresh off a Super Bowl victory, and we have Jan Carlo in the house. How you doing, bro?
Feeling great this week. It's been a good week for us, hasn't it?
For sure, that and some. It's almost like a dream come true. It's like it's the type of dream where you don't want to get pinched and wake up for it. This is really real life. The Philadelphia Eagles are the world champions. And we finally did it, man. It's crazy to see where this season went, where like the ups and where we had the bye week, and then going on a 10-game winning streak, and then just going on a tear, and then like really finding who we are, and then having some tough battles along the way. But we hit stride at the right time, and we played our best ball when it really mattered, and we won the Super Bowl game. So it's like a magical feeling, honestly, since being Eagles fans growing up, we've dealt with a lot of hardship and the Andy Reid teams in the 2000s, and even some of the heartbreaks that we had in like the last Super Bowl that we were not able to pull off. But this one, seeing how everything worked, given the drama with Sirianni, Hurts, everything, and the collapse of last year, we really won, bro, and it's a lot to soak in and feel good about. But I want to hear what you think about this Super Bowl that we just won.
Like you said, we were battle tested. It was a very rocky start to the season. 2-2. We're both over here screaming for Sirianni's head. We're over here questioning Hurts. But all it took was a shaved head and cooler heads to prevail, and everything came together.
Yes.
I think you have the right people in that locker room, led by acquisition Saquon Barkley. I think he really took a leadership role on this team in year one, and really brought the team together and helped keep them locked in.
Yeah, for sure. He definitely provided a big leadership role for us.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget about Vic Fangio.
Dude, huge additions. I mean, if we look at it, he can walk around Philadelphia and the whole area, the whole tri-state area, and be good for life. Just because of this.
Remember, Miami let him go because he was coaching them too tough.
Yeah, exactly.
He came to the right city.
Exactly.
He brought these boys together and maximized all their potential. I'll say it again. Oren Burks, I was concerned. But when it mattered most, he stepped in for Nakobe Dean.
Right.
And next man up mentality. I thought Detroit played it well this year, but we played it better.
No, for sure. I mean, we definitely, we definitely stepped in, did what we had to do. I mean, we had some guys like Steen filling in the offensive line and stuff like that, but for the most part and everything, everything meshed, everything was good. We got healthy when we needed it, and then everybody just stepped up and did their job in the Super Bowl. It was really a sight to see, and this is the type of Super Bowl, Jay, that you buy on DVD and cassette and remember the rest of your life. That's definitely what I'm looking to do and stuff. But I mean, for the most part, I'm just really happy about what happened here, especially everything that's been around this team, and I was iterating to that in the beginning of this take, but to see where we are now, it's just really crazy to think. It makes me smile, it makes me happy, it makes me so excited to go to this parade.
I can't wait.
I know, it's just I've been screaming for a parade, and then as an Eagles fan or even just a Philadelphia fan in general, the stuff that we've had to deal with as fans, watching the Phillies lose the last World Series and coming up short in the last playoffs and stuff. The Sixers and their fiasco with even the Ben Simmons days and everything, and even the Flyers, man, not winning the Stanley Cup in the 2010s and stuff. It's just there's been so many chances of being close, and to see the Eagles really be the Philadelphia team to pull through and really mean something to the city and really bring a championship to the city, it's really great to see him feel. And the best thing about this too, with having 2 rings now, compared to other franchises out there, we have a certain asterisk to this, beating probably the 2 best quarterbacks of all time. And stopping them from getting three-peats, that's definitely a cool asterisk to have to your Super Bowl championships, especially the way we did it and the way we got it. So on a quick spin though, I wanted to ask you, what did you think about the MVP?
The right man got it.
Yeah.
The Kansas City Chiefs focused their entire defensive game plan on stopping Saquon Barkley, which they did pretty good. Right. They said they dared Jalen to be great, and that's what he chose to do. He chose greatness Sunday.
Yes. He played the greatest game that he could play. It wasn't overdue.
In both matchups.
Yeah.
And, I mean, if you really wanted to give it to somebody else, if you really had to, the entire defense could have got it.
Yeah, Josh Sweat with his 2.5 sacks, Milton Williams with a couple sacks, forced fumble.
Jalen Carter with that punch in the face with Patrick Mahomes. Lovely.
Yes.
Lovely. No refs this past Sunday. No, that check didn't clear.
No, I mean, I was a little worried after that first pass interference call, but the way things shaped out, looked like it worked out all right. They didn't really step or intervene. Now the Eagles are 5-0 with Tolbert as the head official, which is controversial in some people's eyes. But I mean, if we're going to look at the Kansas City Chiefs in a long scope and a microscope of things, I think we can all say that the Chiefs been pretty lucky this past couple of years with referee calls. And I mean, to even see some of them after the game, like DeAndre Hopkins and other
The
players,
nerve.
yeah,
The
to just
nerve.
come out and say that the refs, didn't really do their job in this game. I mean,
They're the last team that needs to be complaining about referees.
I agree, because you know why? Even if the refs did matter, you guys weren't going to win the game anyway. You could have had you could have had fucking aliens from Mars try and help your team out, and you guys wouldn't have won the game.
They
So get
weren't
over
blocked. They
yourself.
weren't on the line.
No, exactly. So at the end of the day, you can say what you want, feel how you feel, but at the end of the day, you guys didn't show up. You got your ass kicked, all right? So that's really what it is. But I mean,
Big ups to Jahan Dotson.
yeah, for real, that was a huge catch.
Making plays when he needed to.
No, that's huge.
From
And
0 targets against Washington to
Yeah.
making plays. Good for him.
I know that was big. I mean, that was huge. Hurts spread out the ball for the most part. We saw Saquon catch the ball out of the backfield. Gardner had like 2 catches, I believe. And then we have AJ and Devontae, and they did their thing. So it was good to see Hurts finally, take this moment and really take every opportunity to grasp the moment and make it his. And I'm really happy for him. And honestly, yes, I've ragged Jalen Hurts a lot on this show, and for me now, where I'm at with Jalen Hurts, in my heart, in my spirit, for this team, he's quarterback for life. Honestly, like he can just be the quarterback for the Eagles for as long as he wants to be. I think he checks out. I personally think he is a top 5 quarterback. I mean, he wins. That's what really matters. If you were to look at some of his numbers compared to Lamar, he's got the tush push and all that. But at the end of the day, those type of plays that he runs wins the game, and that's the most important part of things here that people forget. So, I mean, I'm really glad to have Jalen Hurts as our quarterback. And you won't hear another peep out of me, honestly. He's done everything. He can earn it, whatever money he's done. Like I said, he could run for mayor of Philadelphia. He'd have my vote. That's just how
He
much
could spell Eagles if he wasn't there.
Yes. I mean, that's really not that hard. I can't believe that was really a thing.
But,
So, but
yeah.
so on a final note here, as we soak up this win and think about the parade on Friday.
What a way to celebrate Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I mean, God, weather
A lot
permitting.
of upset spouses around here.
Yeah,
Guess what? Go Birds. I don't got time for it.
exactly. So this is the city of brotherly love bringing things together, even on
How
Valentine's
savage,
Day.
though. How savage.
What a time to be alive. But on a final note, I do want to wrap up things. So, we do have an off season coming up now, and this is, the cycle of the NFL as the NFL season doesn't fully end in some people's eyes. But with us winning a championship and seeing how we have Howie Roseman as our orchestrator here, it's going to be interesting to see what he does and tackles on in this off season. I believe in the cap room, we're over the, I believe we're at the cap line, and I know there's some flexibility options we can do. I mean, I know from the grand scheme of things, if we were to look at the cap breakdown, I know Jalen Hurts is the biggest cap hit at only $21 million. If you were to compare that to other teams around the NFL, that's not really that high. So we have some wiggle room here, and we'll have some, like I said, extra space to maybe possibly bring some people back or even add and incorporate new pieces. So we know Howie is one to pull strings and even redo deals that makes both sides of the party happy. So overall, Jay, what do you think and what do you expect for this offseason coming out for the Birds?
I don't call it off-season anymore.
Yeah.
It's out-season.
Oh, okay.
It's not off-season anymore.
Okay.
There's a couple people that I think are, in my opinion, are must-bring-backs. I think Josh Sweat is going to get paid. I think he's going to play this last game as an Eagle. Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Thank you for the memories, but I don't think we can pay him. I want Zach Bond, blank checkbook.
Yeah.
Kai Patton, please come back. I'll take you.
Yeah.
Tyler Steen is ready, then okay.
I feel like Steen could step in and be ready just because he was put in a spot in the playoffs. He's interchangeable. He's versatile. But
My thing is with Becton is if he stays at Stoutland University, when Lane Johnson is time, when it's his time, what better person to have it right tackle than that monster?
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, that's also something to consider.
But I want Milton Williams back as well.
Oh, for sure. I mean, dude, the other way he played in the Super Bowl, and honestly, he's just been a great pick for Howie coming out of the 3rd round out of Louisiana Tech. He's really developed into a player that I didn't even imagine. But keep going.
The only reason I would see him maybe letting him walk is because Jomo has stepped up so much.
Yeah, Ojomo's really good.
7th round pick.
I know, another solid one.
Rough, but everybody. The big buzz is about Myles Garrett.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm not giving up my core. No Nolan Smith, no Cooper DeJean, not on the table.
Right.
I want Howie to do what Howie does, and that's usually offer him like a Big Mac combo meal and a 6th round pick to get your best player with change. Bryce Huff can go.
Yeah, that would have to be the type of move we would have to incorporate. He would have to be involved in the deal just because he was so underwhelming this year.
Big free agent acquisition, inactive in the Super Bowl.
I know
you can go.
Yeah, honestly, you're just taking up money and space at this time.
Yeah, I buy. There's not a lot I want to change. I would change with this team, honestly.
I know it just seems like the foundation of what we have set up here is really, legitimate. It could be ran for years and years to come.
Some money available. You have to leave some money available because people are going to need to get paid soon.
Yeah,
George is coming up on a contract soon. You're going to have to make a decision.
Right.
Year after that, Carter's going to be up. You're going to have to. That's not a decision. That's a how much are we paying you?
Yeah, exactly. That's a no-brainer.
Not asking questions about Jalen Carter.
Right. You're gonna take care of him for
You
life.
have to be smart, but try to keep your core together at the same time.
No, for sure.
Which is kind of why I don't know. I love Myles Garrett to death, but investing in it, knowing that you have a lot of future Bulldogs to pay.
Yeah.
It's if how we can work it. But if not, I love the young core of this team.
No, for sure, I do too. And like you said, the familiarity of playing with each other and now even going on a run like this, it's huge. Definitely helped this core moving forward. And even like players like Jalen Jacks, he had a good Super Bowl, he had a sack. You know what I mean?
Great playoffs.
He's a promising young prospect out of the third round. So there's definitely a lot of pieces still intact here that we can use, even like young pieces moving forward. Some guys might have to go. Players like Slay. We'll have to see what happens with him. I mean, he got hurt again in the Super Bowl. Played his 2 quarters.
I'd love to keep him if he promised only one more.
Yeah, that's what he was iterating when he was interviewed about this season coming up. So we'll have to see about him. I mean, but most part for our defensive backfield, I mean, we're good. I mean, I think we got 2 solid safeties.
We go from a weakness to a strength.
Exactly, and it really took some time to get to, but Howie flipped the fingers, and that's why it's Howie season. But we're gonna see what we do in the draft. Definitely gonna be interesting to see, and offensive line help or whatever, trying to get more bolstering up on the trenches on the defensive front, because we actually just showed the world what it really takes to win the Super Bowl, and it's in the trenches.
So the blueprint's out on Kansas City now.
Oh no, for sure. It was out even before that. I mean, like, we understood that Tampa Bay just hit him and threw him off rhythm, and it made him have one of the worst games of his life. And now we did the same thing. And kudos to Vic Fangio, because coming into the Super Bowl, he was 0-8, and then yes, but like coming into 0-8,
had to go.
But yeah, exactly. But like coming into this, if you're like coming in 0-8, and then I saw him quote Dean Smith about going to the Final Fours and losing 4 times, and then finally winning the national championship on his 5th try, and he iterated what Dean Smith said, and he said he just stuck to doing what he always did, and it never changed. And you can just fully see with the right personnel, he definitely can, set up things where it's going to make it impossible for any other offense to move the ball. So, Vic Fangio is definitely all-time great status now in this tri-state area, and it's really cool to watch. And I'm glad he's coming back. He can honestly just sit back and enjoy the job he does and just sit in the press box and enjoy things.
Yeah, in the best seat in the house for Super Bowl, honestly.
Yes. So, my final thing here, my biggest thing about the offseason, I'm really interested to see who they're going to put at offensive coordinator.
I thought we were going to get slow. I thought we were going to go after Slowick from Houston.
I kind of thought that too, just because that name popped up. He was a hot candidate last year, and then his differences with C.J. Stroud. But in this type of offense, though, like, we know Sirianni being the CEO of everything, so it's not like Slowick's going to have the option of being free range of controlling the offense. He's going to have people on top of him,
And this is why I don't like interviewing during the playoffs, because we kind of got slim pickings at this point.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see.
All coaching matters should be handled after the Super Bowl.
No, I agree. I agree too. And that's just, that would actually, I think, help the offseason out. But teams need to jump the gun and get in the right direction of things. But it's just going to be interesting to see, and we'll have we'll definitely probably talk about it moving forward. But on that note, JC, we are the champions of the world. Yes, the Philadelphia Eagles. We did it, and I'm really glad we were able to talk about this. It's definitely going to be something I remember for the rest of our lives.
Because some people don't get to see one in their lifetime, and we're on 2.
I know, imagine, bro, we could be like the Detroit Lions or the New York Jets. But we're not.
I'm good. I'm an Eagle.
But like you said, we're not, and we get to enjoy it. But JC, I appreciate you coming on, and I look forward to celebrate with you on Friday.
Cannot wait.
For sure, and then I'll definitely have some footage for that for y'all next week. But all right, JC, until next time.
All right now.
All right. And look who we have back for this Super Bowl edition of Call It How I See It. How you doing, G? Well, glad to have you back.
Feeling good. You know what I hear from Joffey? It's time to call it how I see it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So we had a very, very eventful Super Bowl that a lot of people didn't see coming. So we saw the Eagles just dominate the Chiefs, which a lot of us from this area are very happy about. So I want to dive in and see what you thought about this Super Bowl, G, because, I mean, a lot of people have a lot to talk about and say, but I want to hear what you got to say.
Oh, man, let me tell you something. From how the season went, I mean, Kansas City being in all the one-score games, winning a lot of close games, looking like they were going to lose, but still getting the top seed in the AFC, getting that bye, being Kansas City, finding ways to win. You're just like, here they go again. Yeah. So everybody, you can't bet against number 15. They're the Eagles since the bye. They've been rolling. Yeah. They've been rolling, put together a little something special, making it happen this season. Got to give Philly their props. Yeah. So it looked like I text somebody going back to Thanksgiving game, watching Detroit play the Bears. I said, you know what? Philly's going to the Super Bowl. Even if they would have had to play Detroit, I was like, you know what? Yeah. Philly's going to go to the Super Bowl. Now, watching them beat Detroit, watched them, Philly did their thing. Philly did their thing, Kansas City, Philly. Right. All right, close game. It's going to be a close game. They got Reed. They got Mahomes. Oh, okay. Game started. I mean, it was just like, I couldn't believe it, man. Total domination from beginning to end, really. I mean, thought at some point in time something's going to, okay, they're going to put something together now. Okay, here we go. No, they put something together this drive. Nothing. And then at one point you thought, okay, end of the half, first half, you're thinking, okay, Kansas City can score at the end of the half, come out, get the ball at halftime. After time to score, they can make this a game.
Right.
They didn't have no pump before halftime, man. I was like, oh, boy, they in trouble. Come right out of halftime, 3 and out. Man, it was Eagles just, like Tyson said, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face. Yes. And they got punched in the face and never could recover.
No, that's a great analogy. And that's, you hit the nail on the head on that one, G. Like, honestly, like, from the second that game started, we just already kind of could tell who was going to win that game. And that's just pure domination. It was crazy. And, seeing things now from a retrospective, seeing how the defense came together, shout out to Vic Fangio and everything. I mean, to see his defense and sticking true to what he does. I mean, like, his formation and people to get the buy-in and everything. It's just, like, collectively, it's good to watch things like this come to light. It's honestly really great to see.
Blitz once.
Not once. It's just like, and they play, 3-4, and then to have 3 guys just be able to create pressure or even have other guys on the outside edge get to the spot. It's just, like, it's really crazy and great to see. And I'm, like, I'm really excited. And our core is young. We're really in a spot where we can really take the NFL by the balls, and I'm really excited about us moving forward. So, on another note, though, I'm excited about this special player that I ragged a lot on the show, and I'm still very, very sorry about it. But he is quarterback for life now, in my case. But what was your spin on Jalen Hurts and his game? Like, do you think he's now elite? Do you think he's in that top 5? What do you think about him, Gene?
Jalen is a great football player. He's from the quarterback position. He's that dual threat guy. He's that runner with the arm, keeping the mind right.
Cerebral.
I'm telling you, he's 26. Listen, Eagles might have something special brewing in Philly. I mean, seriously, putting something together. Like I've said many times before, what a championship team needs is players in their prime, a certain percentage of players in their prime, sprinkled in with some rookies, throw some veterans in. Trust me, Eagles have the recipe for something special. Can't account for injury. Okay, we're not talking injuries. We're not talking, seems like Howie Roseman just keeps pushing the right buttons. Next thing you know, they're filling a gap, filling a spot. Are you going to lose coordinators? When you're winning successful, you lose coordinators. You lose players. Right. Everybody's going to try to get what they can get on the open market once the contract situations are what they are. Right. But it seems like Howie Roseman's like, okay, bring this guy in, bang. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it doesn't bang, bring this guy in, and he just keeps hitting. So, I mean, you got to ride the wave. No, I think the Eagles really are in a position right now. Yeah, NFC, look out. NFL, look out. NFC, I mean, you got Detroit. Washington's on the up and cut, on the up. Right. And Green Bay, I mean, there's teams out there that will be formidable. I don't see it, though. I see Philly being a team that's putting something special together here. Could get interesting. You guys could be flexing for a minute here.
No, I'm looking forward to flexing for this long-ass minute. But, for everything involved, like, a lot of people like myself was ragging Hurts, but at the end of the day, like, he's just very adaptive. He's cerebral. He gives he understands what the defense is giving him, and he makes the most of it. Like, if they're gonna take away Saquon, fine. I will make the throws that I have to make. I will use these one-on-one matchups and beat you because we have guys that are better than you. Or the way our team is structured is just better than you, and then we're just gonna we're gonna impose our will and lean on you guys when we have the lead. And we've been doing that most part of the year. And to see where we came into this game, and we really hit stride, like coming from the Commanders game, and then going into this game, having 2 weeks of practice and being really fully ready. And I have to give Sirianni a lot of credit, man. I really do. He'd had this team ready. Kellen Moore had the offense ready, and then, Vic Fangio had the defense ready. Everybody did their job, and this is the collective unit, and this is what a real championship team is made of, and it's really happy to see it. So,
oh, man, it's safe. And two, man, the fact that when you lose coordinators, they'll be talking about how many coordinators Jalen's going to have here. Listen, if you can play, I don't care who's calling the plays. If you got skills, if you're the athlete Jalen Hurts says, I don't care who's calling it, I can play. So give me what you want, and I'm going to get it done. He's a great player, man.
He's
elite. Top 5, top 10, we can say whatever we want. I know when he's on the field, I know we got a shot to win. That's the bottom line.
And that is the bottom line. And that's the only thing that matters. Like, we remember him in his press conference, like, money is good, but championships are better. So, like, when it comes down to it, he's about winning. He's got the right mindset. And even going back, like you said, we can shuffle around offensive coordinators. He's had success with each one of these guys. So, and he's been doing this since college. He's been doing this with Alabama. He had different offensive coordinators. It's like
that's what happens when you can play, Joffey.
Yeah, exactly. And that, you hit the nail on the head on that one, Jim. So now let's flip on the other side now. Let's flip to the Mahomes take here. So, yeah. So with this, I mean, what do you think this does? What's next for Mahomes? Do you think what's next for Patrick Mahomes, Jim?
Well, listen, Patrick Mahomes, being the great quarterback he is, I think he's 29. Yeah. He has time. He has time to adjust. He has time to make up for this. Now, granted, he took a hit. It's a little stain. Pat got a little stain on him now because this wasn't just a loss. This wasn't a 30-27 loss. No, this was a beatdown. And people always talk Mahomes, they don't get blown out. Right. Yeah, they didn't face a Philly team that they didn't face this Philly team. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Once they got now reality set in that the league is up and coming. I mean, Patrick, and takes more than just him. They have a good team. Their defense came to play. Don't get me wrong. They were on Barkley.
Right.
But overall, I mean, when you not enough.
You have the guys dropping the ball. You have, Kelsey dropping the ball, like Hopkins dropping the ball.
Hopkins, come on,
even
man.
P. Ryan. You have to have everybody on the same page, and nobody was there. And then Pat tried to make the plays that he could, and then there's only so much time that he had just because of the time in the pocket. But like you said, Jay, it's not the end of the world for Pat Mahomes. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna play 20 years like Tom Brady did, and you're winning 7 Super Bowls, like making the Super Bowl out of 10 of them, like it's an expectation, yes, and a standard. But like we can't expect Patrick Mahomes to win the Super Bowl in like 20 times out of 20 times. You know what I mean? It's not gonna happen. There's other guys. The league is taking notice. It happens, and he has more time. It's not to say his career's over. It's not the end of the world for Patrick Mahomes. I mean, if anything, he still has the NFL by the balls. So
now we'll see with his GM and what how long Andy stays there. I mean, that plays is going to play into his success. But at the same token, he's a great athlete. He can play. I don't care who. I tend to think when you can play, I don't care who's calling the plays, man. I can. If you're a baller, he's a baller, man.
Exactly.
I know Andy Reid's a genius,
right.
And I know what Kansas City's done has been special. And I still think they can get back there. They'll be in it.
No, for sure.
But now let me tell you something. What's brewing in Philly? Ooh, boy, NFL, get ready. This could be a little run here. Little run.
I'm hoping, G, because I'm really enjoying it.
I know that's right.
Like you said, man, I'm just really, really enjoying this wave, and I'm really going to enjoy it this Friday. And, it's a lot of good feelings out here, man. A lot of good feelings. I'm just glad to see. Because, G, out of all these Philly teams, I mean, we had the Phillies come disappointing. You had the Sixers being the mess that they are. The Flyers couldn't win in the 2010s. Like, to see this team pull it off and actually, bring the championship to Philly, it's just, it means a lot, honestly. It just, warms my heart.
It was coming the whole second half of the season.
Yeah.
They've been the team that has, to me, just been going like this, man. And they got to the Super Bowl, and they just took it to the next level. I mean, really, it wasn't even a game.
No, it wasn't. It was never a game.
It wasn't, man. Philly's going to be flexible for a minute. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, you can't account for injury and stuff. But otherwise, look out. Look out.
And like you said, with Howie pushing the buttons, sky's the limit, honestly. Who knows what even could be next for him.
Free agency. Who knows, he's going to make things happen. So it's just a matter of who wants to stay. Right. Who's going to get offered more money. And, it's all about the money. Let's don't get it twisted. So when the money comes and who offers who what, I think who's the defensive lineman, was it Williams?
There's Milton Williams, there's Josh Sweat, there's a couple guys, but Milton Williams is up there too. I mean,
and you got Bond, right?
Yeah, Zach Bond.
So Howie's, like you said, Howie's in the lab probably as we speak, or he will be back in the lab shortly to, put together the formula. Because again, Philly's going to be there, man. They got something special brewing, man. I can feel it.
No, for sure, and I'm really excited about this. But Jay, I appreciate you coming on, dropping your takes, and
Man, it's always appreciated. Joffey called. It's time to call it how I see it. Love it, man. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you again, man. All right, and we're back, and we have the return of my boy Vinny Talarico. How you doing, Vin?
I'm doing great, man. Just still doesn't feel real, but it's been a hell of a couple days, and extremely happy with the result.
I'm beyond happy, Vin. I'm just I've been waiting for this, and it happened, and it still doesn't feel real. It feels like a dream, and now we're getting to enjoy every bit of this dream. And I don't want to be pinched. I don't want to be waking up. I'm trying to enjoy this parade coming up, and everything involved. So, I want to bring to the reason why I have you here, and I have you here because I want to talk about this. I want to talk about the game. I want to talk about everything aspectively from this game. So, I'm gonna let you dive in. What did you think about the Philadelphia Eagles winning Super Bowl 59?
I mean, what I think about it is just what I thought about it all season. I thought they were the best team in football going into the season. They had an amazing offseason. They did a really good job in the draft. They brought back some key free agents that were here a couple years ago, like CJ, the big signing for Saquon Barkley. And even the under-the-radar guys like Zach Bond and giving Nakobe Dean a chance to start in the NFL where a lot of people felt like he wasn't able to do so. Just having all of the guys that they had a good chemistry, and it was like the perfect team and the perfect group of guys to do it for them. And if you look back on it, this is probably the greatest team the team has ever had. I mean, certainly in our lifetimes. Honestly. I mean, 2004 was pretty fun. 2022 was great, but obviously those two teams didn't finish the job. 2017 was incredible. It was our first ever championship.
But the underdogs.
Yeah, exactly. But if you look at the roster on paper and how it was built, going back to when they lost the Super Bowl 2 years ago to how everything fell apart at the end of last season, it was an incredible, incredible journey. And everything that we've talked about on here, the 2 or 3 times we've talked strictly about the Eagles and how the season would play out, everything that we talked about basically happened. They should be one of the 2 best teams in the NFC. They should have a really good chance of representing the conference in the Super Bowl. And if they stay healthy and with the new coordinators and getting the players in the right system and getting the best out of their players, a lot of guys can flourish. They had the best defense in the league all season, arguably one of the greatest defenses in NFL history, a dominant Super Bowl performance against one of the greatest, if not the greatest quarterback that we've ever seen in the NFL.
Right.
And they made it look easy. I mean, it was 40-6 at one point, which was
it's mind-blowing.
Insane.
Right.
40-6, and then even up the 17-0, you were kind of like, it's still Patrick Mahomes on the other side of the field. All it takes is one play, and then you get the interception by Zach Bond, AJ touchdown, and after they got that touchdown to AJ, that's when I knew the Chiefs had no chance of coming back.
Right. They had an answer for everything they were doing.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that still goes back to, how crucial the Super Bowl week is, and we also talked about when Jonathan Gannon left here to go to Arizona, maybe his focus, it wasn't all there because, you saw their halftime adjustments against Kansas City 2 years ago. He didn't make any.
Right.
When you're up 24-0 at halftime, you don't have to make a lot of adjustments. It's kind of more it would be the adjustments for Kansas City would have to make. But they kept their pedal to the metal. They were up, I think, before the Smith touchdown. Was it 27 or was it 20? Not that it matters. I think it was 27-0.
It was 27. I think they got the
And they kept their pedal to the metal, and they didn't let up for a second this time. And like we talked about before, like Nick was talking about things he didn't do in the last Super Bowl. And I think when he had a lead 2 years ago, maybe he was a little too conservative and not going for the dagger and not trying to, call out that big play or pull the play out of your playbook that you're trying to save for a big moment in the game. And I felt the dagger to Devontae deep was a big-time throw by Jalen. It was a great ball. I mean, it was right on the money. And Kellen Moore, again, he saved his best. He's going to New Orleans. I hope he does well.
Yeah.
He saved his best game of the season, or the last 2 games of the season last. And they definitely were well prepared coming into this game on both sides of the ball. Kansas City couldn't run the ball. They couldn't throw the ball.
No,
their offensive line couldn't touch their defensive line. And I felt that Fangio, having all that experience against Patrick Mahomes, like he was probably looking at some things that, hey, if I had better players on my defense, what could I do differently? And I think we found out that, they had the right personnel this year. They didn't blitz on any of his dropbacks, and they were basically living in the backfield the entire game. It was incredible.
He saw ghost. He couldn't do anything, Ben. They disrupted his timing, everything, rhythm. He was out of sync. Even that one throw we saw to him try to force the ball where Cooper DeJean picked it off, it was just like his feet weren't planted correctly. It was just sloppy fundamentals that caused a turnover in that situation. So we really
very uncharacteristic throw, man. I mean, because they were only down by 17, and if they had scored,
trying to force
and
it.
if they had no, they were down 10-0, I believe, at that point.
Right, that's because he took
and
it to the house.
And the was down by 17. Yeah.
Right, because he took it to the house and it made it to 17-0. But I mean, still, at the end of the day, it was bad quarterback play and trying to force the ball, trying to use your arm talent, and that caused that situation where it hurt your team. But overall, at the end of the day, there was going to be no answer. And then even if we're going to look back at statistics and Mahomes didn't look like he played that well, he did. I mean, like if you really watch the game, minus the garbage time and everything involved, if you really watch the game, he had no answer. And he'll even tell you that.
Nothing.
So even in his press conference,
I know that a lot of people, and I think that Xavier Worthy is going to be a really good player next year. I love him coming out of Texas
for sure.
But up until the game was 34-0, he had 2 catches for 9 yards, and then not saying that Vic went into like a prevent defense, but there were some openings in the zone. And Patrick Mahomes, if it's 40-0 or 0-0, he's always still going to be able to find ways to get you the ball.
Yeah.
But I mean, his super long touchdown, came against our backups.
I know.
And prior to that play, they had already dumped the Gatorade on Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, exactly.
They were kind of already in a mode of hey, let's just get out of here. This game is over. Take all the ones out. I mean, but
we were already mentally checked out. It didn't matter at that point.
Yeah, and again, Jalen Hurts outplayed Pat Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Again.
Yeah.
And for all the people that want to, whether it's your local media, your national media, they always try to, for whatever reason, he's the only quarterback that, if he gets better like this, instead of going like this, if he just has a slow ascend, there's just always that moving of the goalposts for his success and what he can and can't do. I mean, running for 70 yards in a Super Bowl and doing it twice is demoralizing. If you're a defense and, it's 3rd and 8, and you're thinking, well, this is the kind of quarterback you want to throw the ball to beat you because he's not that good at it, so they say, he can just run for 25 yards and make it look easy.
Right.
And then he's throwing to 2 top 10 receivers, a great tight end, and you can't get through his offensive line.
Right.
And, they did hold Barkley in check a bit, but I felt like if the game had been closer, they would have kept giving him more carries, and with more carries, he's more of a threat to get that home run.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's not a guarantee if the game had been close and you needed Jalen to win that he wouldn't have been able to do it because he proved to you 2 years ago that on the biggest stage, he can play at a high level.
Yep.
And he played at a high level in the NFC Championship game. And, whether you want to say, however you want to categorize these quarterbacks, elite, great, top 5, top 10, when you name all the guys like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, quarterbacks that he's beaten head-to-head this season and going back to last year, and Pat Mahomes, and Matt Stafford,
he's beaten everybody.
And Jordan Love,
he's beaten
and
everybody.
Jaden Daniels. Yeah, he's beaten them all. And people are like, if you put him in the AFC, he wouldn't be as good. He's 11-1 against the AFC.
Yeah, exactly. Cam Newton's idiots like that saying shit like that. It's not.
Yeah, and then just another one too is they always. And my favorite one too is they call him a system quarterback. But in the NFL, every single season he's had a new coordinator.
I know exactly.
So it's he's every year he's adapting to a new system.
And that speaks more virtues.
And then every year he wins 12 games, goes to the playoffs, and goes to the Super Bowl. And he even did that in college. Like at Alabama, he had 2 coordinators.
He's
and
a
then he transfers to
winner.
Oklahoma.
He's a winner.
He's a winner.
He's just a winner.
He's
No matter where he
leader.
goes. Yes.
And I listened to I was listening to 97.5 on Tuesday, and it was a weird comparison, like a cross sports comparison to like Tim Duncan almost.
Okay.
And it was like, because he's quiet, he's a great leader, he's soft spoken,
very stoic.
And if you look at Tim. And if you look at Tim Duncan, the guy was drafted into an incredible situation, a winning franchise, had David Robinson, and throughout his whole career, like he had incredible players around him and a great coach, and nobody ever held that against Tim Duncan.
Right.
And nobody ever holds. I mean, there's no other quarterback in the league when they have great players around them and they win, even if they don't win a Super Bowl or if they fall short of that. Nobody holds that against that quarterback except for Jalen Hurts, and to me, I don't understand why.
No,
the guy's just a winner, and I think this is only going to make him better. I really do. I think he's going to keep getting better, and hopefully they can get an offensive coordinator in here that's not going to leave in 2 or 3 years. I'd love Frank Reich to come back.
That would be
him and Siri. Yeah, because him and Nick, because Nick always speaks so highly of Frank Reich. He's always talked about Frank Reich.
And I think Frank Reich would have something to prove too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it would help the development of Tanner McKee because he's probably going to be their backup next year.
Yeah.
If he's going to be one play away, I would love for him to learn under Frank Reich and how he's always coached up quarterbacks.
The ultimate backup quarterback.
Yeah, we always need a backup quarterback in Philly, and I just think Frank Reich's the guy that there's nothing wrong with the fact that he I wouldn't say he failed as a head coach, but he didn't he certainly didn't meet the expectations of what he was supposed to do in Indianapolis because he had Carson Wentz.
Right.
But he knows the organization really well, and you don't have to worry about him leaving. And just like we said, you don't have to worry about Jalen having to learn another new offense in 2027.
No, you just keep things going. And the philosophy for like Sirianni and Frank Reich, since they're both from the same tree, Sirianni coming from Frank Reich, having his mentor come in and coach the offense, I think the fit would be right there. It would almost fit like a glove, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, and coordinators, if you look at somebody like Josh McDaniels, he left the Patriots, he went to go be a head coach, and he ended up going back, and he ended up going and helping them win a Super Bowl.
Right. Some guys are just some guys are just good coordinators. That's that's their calling. I mean, sometimes when they have more control and power, they don't know how to handle it. And I'm not saying like Frank Reich totally failed, but like his last, what we remember him in Carolina, that just was a big disaster and everything.
Yeah, that was, and again, we had talked about a while back about the whole Bryce Young thing in Carolina. I just think that any coach on that team back in October,
it's going to be set up for a failure.
You're like in a no-win situation.
Exactly.
And Carolina did play hard at the end of this season. I think
they're playing better.
Probably not next year, but maybe like 2026, they can kind of get better. But they don't play in a great division, which does help them a little bit.
Right.
And I do think Bryce Young did play pretty good down the stretch. Considering what he had to work with, considering he came back off of being benched.
Right.
And that can make or break a quarterback, and it didn't break him, and that's a good sign if you're Carolina.
No, for sure. So, but I mean, the idea was stemming from having Frank Reich and Josh McCown trying to groom him. And maybe, who knows, maybe they did plant a seed in him and now lost him later with him. So, that's just, some things that we can look back from Frank Reich actually taking him with the number 1 pick. Well,
I've seen Josh McCown too as possibly as an offensive coordinator, but I mean, he was here as
a quarterback coach.
He was here
he was. Yes.
Yeah, so maybe, I mean, if you just want to kind of run it back with how they did when Carson, his rookie year, it was Doug, it was Frank Reich, and John DeFilippo, 2 former quarterbacks, and the quarterback coach. Yeah, he's been a quarterback coach. I mean, as far as he's been a football coach for 20 plus years.
He's been around.
So if you can get that under Jalen while he has a Super Bowl win under his belt, and just maybe help him with a couple things here and a couple things there, and it helps Tanner McKee become a better backup. I mean, I think it'd be a great move. I'd love to see Frank Reich back in Philly. I think
it would be good for Jalen's development, and also too, it'd be a situation too like Fangio. He's not looking to be a head coach. You know what I mean? Like he just do his job, be a coordinator, and enjoy his later stages of his career as a coach. That's really could have been. But Ben, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Absolutely.
This with me. It's been fun. I know I'm gonna enjoy the parade on Friday.
I hope so, man. Have fun, bro. Be safe.
Be safe. Absolutely. I'm gonna be with the right people, and everything will be all right.
Cool, man. We'll definitely jump back on for some free agent and draft talk, man. I can't wait.
For sure. We'll definitely, the season never ends, Ben.
So the season never ends, and the road to San Francisco starts in a couple weeks, so I can't wait, bro.
Exactly. But all right, Ben, I appreciate you coming on. And we're back, and look who is back in the house, the one and only Joe Valo. How you doing, bro?
I'm good this week.
Good. I'm glad to see you. I'm glad to have you back on, and I want to know what you thought about the Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl, it reminded me a lot of the Broncos-Seahawks Super Bowl.
Okay.
Also the football, the Super Bowl with the Buccaneers versus Pat Mahomes. He was running for his life.
Okay.
But it just showed me how much better this roster is than the rest of the league. The rest of the league ain't fucking with this roster. And the way it's set up, we don't have to choose who to let go and who to keep right now. Because everybody's under rookie contracts, And our stars are on star contracts. Our rookie contracts haven't reached the point where they need to be paid like stars yet.
Right.
So we could run it back next year. Our roster is head and shoulders better than everybody else right now.
I agree.
We might have had the best free all season period. He won free agency and he won the draft.
I know.
And he got Kellen Moore.
I know. Howie Roseman did a lot of work last offseason, and then he really set up his team to be where it is. I mean, like, he even did that last year just to see where the collapse happened at the end of the season and where things fell apart. But I think, like, this season, I think coaching matters. And then, like, you know, us having, like, the right guys at the back end doing their job, like Fangio and Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore's out now, able to get a head coaching job. You know, I mean, like, these guys help solidify, you know, the whole, you know, message getting across, you know, on offense and on defense. But, you know, it's just good to see this team collectively work together and become what it became.
Especially from last year. Last year, our defense didn't want to tackle anybody.
I know.
The fact that we're the number one defense this year is absurd. They didn't want to tackle nobody.
I know. It was a huge turnaround.
Safeties, yeah. And that's a big cultural change. That's not just the players. That's a cultural change.
No, you're absolutely right about that. Like, you have to take the consideration of that. And, you know, they had, you know, like, you know, in practice, going through the motions of things and, you know, working on certain drills. And tackling definitely was a big part of this team's drill this year. And, like, to see where they were, not many missed tackles. Like, we had problems with, like, Nakobe Dean even having, like, tackling issues when he was playing his other years. Like, we saw him solidify things, gang tackling, even punching the ball out. They just played some really good collective defense. And you saw that trickle in. You saw it trickle in throughout the whole playoffs. It was just really great to watch. And, like, honestly, this is, like, honestly, Joe, like, one of the best teams I've ever seen, honestly. Like, just, like, where they hit stride at the right time. And I was a little worried because the Chiefs were hitting stride, too, after they beat the Bills and everything. But being such in close games all the time and then stepping into this type of game and then getting just beat the fuck up was really great to watch. I'm really happy about it.
Honestly, that's honestly a topic that's not being talked about right now. They stack up with all the best teams of all time that we can think of.
I know.
They match
up, and honestly, definitely the best. I personally think this is the best Eagles team. I think it's better than the 2018 team. Like, better than the 04 team or, you know, the 2022 team. Like, this team is just really stacked, and it's just crazy to think in, like, 1 year how Howie Roseman just flipped the script and had, you know, one of the best off seasons ever as, like, a GM, and that's why he's, like, well renowned now throughout sports, and it's really crazy to say. So I want to twist things.
Our playoff run was insane. We didn't even get touched, like our playoff run.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, our hardest game was against the Rams, but, like, we pulled through that, and after that, everything just became easy. So now I want to twist things, Joe. I want to twist and talk about the MVP. All right, I want to talk about the Super Bowl MVP here. And yes, I've been very critical of the Super Bowl MVP, but now in my book, Joe, he's QB for life. I'm okay with that. He's done his job. I'm okay with that. So, what do you think about Jalen Hurts?
Like Nick Foles? He won Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about that. We can kick that can later down the road. But in this world right now, how does he stack up against your favorite quarterback?
Lamar Jackson?
Yes.
Honestly, not to take anything away from Jalen, but I feel like Jalen during these playoffs played the best that he could play. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with the way he played, but like I said earlier, this team reminds me of the Seahawks.
Right.
And the way the Seahawks were set up, we never looked at Russell Wilson as a top 5 quarterback. Mm-hmm. They had a great roster.
Right.
That lasted for years. They had a great team. I feel like the Eagles right now are a great team, and Jalen Hurts is playing his version of Russell Wilson.
Okay.
Which means, like, Jalen Hurts, did he play as a Tier 1 quarterback are these Tier 1 quarterback stats in the playoffs?
I would say in terms of being on the big stage of the Super Bowl, he's definitely performed in both of these games. That would merit him. I mean, he outperformed Patrick Mahomes in both of these games. And another thing, Joe, I mean, in the last 2 years, he's beaten the best quarterbacks in the AFC. He's beaten Joe Burrow, he's beat Lamar this year, and he beat Josh Allen last year. I mean, like, that whole Cam Newton-ition, like, where he couldn't beat the teams in the AFC, like, I don't think that's really comparable. And, like, at the end of the day, too, yes, it's about the team. It is always about the team. But, you know, you can have superstars like these quarterbacks, but like Joe Burrow and his defense this year couldn't make it to the playoffs, or even Josh Allen didn't have enough weapons around him to, you know, do enough and finish the job. But these guys get them there, and then, like, they're put at this expectation. So yeah, I don't think in terms of natural talent, no, Jalen Hurts isn't on these guys' level. Like, these guys are naturally more talented than him. But for what he does, he adapts very well. And cerebrally, he might be better than these guys, honestly, if you put it that way. Just, like, think of it like this. Joey's been through so many different offensive coordinators. Like, every year he has a new offensive coordinator, and he's adapted. And he's played, like, the best to what he can in different offenses. And, I mean, we know what he is. He is limited. But at the end of the day, like, that's why he's QB1 for me, Joe. I mean, he's QB for life, honestly, for me.
I mean, I feel like the Russell Wilson thing is a good comparison. Russell Wilson is a great quarterback.
It's fair.
Like, honestly, I feel like Jalen Hurts is a Tier 2.5. Like, during the season, he played himself in the Tier 3, but during his career, he could possibly be the best quarterback in Tier 2.
I think so. I think he's a top 5 quarterback. I do.
I don't know if he's top 5. Let's go Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. I guess if you want to throw him in that 5th spot by default.
Yeah, Josh Allen. I mean, I think there's the top 4, and then you have Jalen. He'll lead that. Maybe Jaden Daniels after him.
Drop off. It's not the same tier.
All right, if we're gonna go by like ratings of Madden, like we're looking at Mahomes 98, and then you got these 3 guys being like 97s.
No, I mean let's go in the tiers. I got Mahomes in a tier of his own.
Yeah.
Josh Allen, Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson in the tier underneath of them, and maybe Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels right underneath them.
Yes.
And then everyone.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty fair. I would say that's very fair actually. So, because like I can't put like when the season first started, we're looking at like we're looking at Justin Herbert or C.J. Stroud, but we saw like Justin Herbert had a pretty solid year, but when the playoffs came, it didn't matter. C.J. Stroud, yes, this playoff run he played better, but we saw him in the regular season and made a lot of us question where he really is in terms of tier. So I'm not saying they're not top 10 quarterbacks, but I just think that you're right. There is different tiers and levels of things, and I just think Jalen Hurts probably is tier 2, leader of tier 2 with Jaden Daniels and maybe somebody else in there, but I just, in terms of raw talent, I guess we just see that limitation. And who knows, maybe Jaden Daniels can reach a new ceiling, or maybe he'll have the sophomore slump. We'll have to wait and see with that, and we'll have to take a lot of consideration. But I think your comparison to Russell Wilson is very fair, just because their game is very similar. And they're both kind of like their pedigree is like they're winners from where they came from. I mean, I know Russell Wilson never won the national championship, but he helped, Wisconsin get to that level and stuff. So these guys, like from previous past and their resume, they showed that they're winners, and that's the biggest thing. And that's why we're, talking about this guy right now, honestly. So.
Now, I feel like Jalen Hurts, the only problem I have with the comparison with these other quarterbacks are I feel like Jalen Hurts still has to take the next step into his progression.
Yes.
Like Russell Wilson, for example, when he won the Super Bowl and went to a Super Bowl, he was kind of asked not to lose the game.
Right.
Right? I feel like Jalen Hurts is being asked not to lose the game right now.
Right.
Where, quarterbacks like C.J. Stroud and Justin Herbert that didn't have good playoff performances, CJ was okay, but Justin Herbert,
right?
They're being asked to go out there and win the game, not to not lose it.
I know, and that's a big thing.
There's a difference.
There is a big difference, and that's also just
Lamar Jackson as well.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot more pressure put into them, and taking what the defense is giving them, sometimes you got to make the right adjustments to pull through and win the game, and sometimes we don't see these guys doing that. So I mean, it's different. Everything changes when you win. Honestly, you win, you're on top of the world. Nobody can ever tell you anything different. So that's just what it comes down to. So, and that's where we are with that. But
I mean, I heard people ask if he's better, if he's more clutch than Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, they're gonna a lot of people are gonna examine the 2 games that they played against each other. So I don't know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I mean, there's been game-winning drives that Jalen's had. I mean, we've seen Jalen Hurts win. We've seen Jalen Hurts have some game-winning drives and winning the games. Yeah, to that level of these guys, maybe not, especially like Joe Burrow. But at the end of the day, in the whole 4 quarters of football, we see this guy making winning plays to win the game, and that's really what matters.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we have a great roster. If this is in NBA terms, like if people don't really understand football, we have the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, in a way. I mean,
with a superstar. Saquon's our superstar. You
right.
can win without Derrick Rose at point guard. And I feel like that's what we did. We don't,
No, for sure. I mean, I think Jalen Hurts is just a really good point guard. I mean, he's like a Jalen Brunson type of like point guard. I mean, like comparable, maybe not as flashy in offense, but he gets the job done, and he's really, like I said, cerebral, and he knows what he has to do mentally on the field, and that's the biggest thing. So.
But did you hear Dak's comments?
Yeah, well, yeah, you can talk, and that's all they do. They just talk, and that's what they do. They talk in front of the cameras and make their money doing that. So that's what they do. They're not champions, so we ain't got to hear shit. They never won anything in our lifetime. Yeah, we were babies, but we never seen them do anything. We never seen them go to a championship. Nothing. They're garbage. Basura. But all right, Joe. Yeah, right. But all right, Joe. I gotta wrap things up here. But I appreciate you coming on.
Good being on, man. See you.
All right,
peace.
Peace out, my friend.